So this is a little video I've put together to help you understand how the best ways are to revise at home. Now, one of the most useful methods that you can do where you don't require anything really, you don't really need a computer, you can do everything on paper, is to create a mind map. Now, to do a mind map, the first step is that you're going to decide on a topic. Then obviously on the mind map, you basically need to start by saying what that topic actually is. So what does it mean? Then identify any keywords or areas within that topic. So on this example, you would talk about operating systems and utility software because they are the types of software that you need to know. And then you could mention some application software as well. Then for each of those subsections, you add an explanation and add some examples. And just by creating these mind maps, it really helps you to access those areas of your brain where you might have previously forgotten something. Now, another useful trick is that if you do everything that you can remember first, and then you add to that mind map by looking in a textbook or by using the internet to find out other parts that you can't remember. Those are the bits that you can't remember. You could put them in a different color, so it kind of makes a subconscious record that those are the ones that you need to focus on. Now, on the next section, I'm going to show an example of how to create a mind map. So when you are looking to do some revision, the best thing to do, I think, is to go to the question level analysis. And when you want to do mind maps, you can go to the full specification. So on the full specification, you can see both papers at the bottom. You've got paper 1 and paper 2. Now for paper 1, you can see all of the different topics as they go down, and for paper 2, you can do the same. Now, what you want to do is focus on these grey bits, really. So computational thinking, if you start by making a mind map for that, then you can fill that in. Or you can do search and sort algorithms and think what you know about those. Try to stick to the main topics at the top. So if I go with data types 2.2.2 as an example, that's what we could use to make our mind map from. Now, another thing you can do is, obviously you're going to need this while I do this example, but you can go to your revision guide, and in this revision guide it will have a page with the contents on. So data types, it says here on the right hand side, is on page 41. So as you go down, you can go through the guide. It might take a moment to load unless you want to do the downloaded version. And once you get to the right page, you will be able to refer back to that part of the revision guide in case there's anything that you can't think of. So while that's loading, I'm going to come back to that in a little bit, but you can use that revision guide to really help you with any sections at all that you're struggling with. Okay, so when you are going to make a mind map, we've already decided on the topic that we're going to look at as this example, which is data types. So what you do is you get your piece of paper. This is basically simulating your piece of paper, and we're going to write the name of the topic in the middle. Now, first of all, we are going to use a little bit of retrieval and recall and think, what do we already know? So we're going to start by saying, for each topic that you do one for, is what is it? So what is a data type? A data type is a value or a type or a category that you give to each variable. For example, you would have an integer, is an example. And it's a type that is assigned to a variable. Okay. Now the further information that you need to think about is why. So why do we use them? And it says when you actually, if you don't know that from the top of your head, you're going to need to go back to your revision guide, which we've got over there. You can go into your revision guide and look and write it in a different colour. If you do know from the top of your head, then you can put that in straight away. So I'm going to leave that one there to show you where you can get the information from in a minute. Now, when we're going with data types, you need to think about the different examples that you've got. So we know that there are 5 data types. You might not be able to think of all 5, so you just put in the ones that you can think of. So let's say we can remember string. We've already mentioned integer there, so we're going to put integer, and we will put float as well as the other one. So you can remember what they actually are. Now from those, what does each one mean, or what is an example for each? That would be the next thing that you do. So this is like an explanation. This is identify. Then you're going to do the explanation next. And you might be thinking, I can't remember what the other 2 are. So you're going to leave that one out. And we're going to leave that one out. And we're going to look those up in a minute. So for a float, we know that this is a decimal number. And then you could do e.g. 5.2. We know an integer is a whole number, e.g. 6, and a string is a group of characters, and you can just do e.g. Daniel. Okay, so they are the 3 that I can remember. The others I am struggling with. So this is where the key bit comes in, is you're not going to remember absolutely everything when you're doing revision. You might need to look stuff up. So using like the revision guide that we've loaded up, you can check which ones we've got and which ones we haven't got. So we've got integer, string and float, integer, string and float. It means we've missed out boolean and character. So I'm going to take a different colour and put those ones in. And that is basically you reminding yourself of which ones you couldn't remember the first time around. So you've got boolean and you've got character. And then you might be like, well, can't actually remember what that is, or don't know what that is. So you look up your definition. Boolean can only have 2 values. So only has 2 values, e.g. true or false. And a character is one single letter. E.g. Z, X, whatever it is that you want to do. So that means that you've covered everything that you need for data types, apart from what do we use them for. And you'll see here, using the correct data types makes code more efficient and robust. So makes code more efficient and robust. And if you do this for every topic that you want to go through, then you will have everything that you need to know about that particular topic. So if you get asked any question on the exam about data types, like identify, that's this bit. If you get explain, that's this bit. If you get give an example, it's this bit. Sometimes you have to identify what data type it is, so it might have this, and say identify what data type it is, so you can say it's a float. So it's everything that you need to know about that topic, but you've also highlighted to yourself which ones that you couldn't remember, and they're the ones that you can focus on. Finito. Now, for the exams, the keywords and definitions are really, really important. They can help you to understand any question that pops up where you might be like, I don't know what that means. But also, there's lots and lots of questions that say, explain this, explain that, identify this. And if you know those definitions off by heart, then you're going to get lots and lots of marks on the tests. So in order to do that, obviously you go through the guide, go to Teams, click the keywords spreadsheet, choose a topic, and then use the flashcards or play the games. On the next section, I will show you how to do that on this little video. Okay, so as a little demonstration on how to actually get onto the keywords, when you will go to Teams, you will see your General tab at the bottom. And this is where all of the latest things appear with all your assignments and everything. So you're very used to seeing this. But when you go to Files at the top, you will see a folder appear and it says Class Materials. So inside this folder, I have put lots of useful information that you're going to be able to use. But for this particular section, if you go to keywords, you will see links to different topics that you can study. So if you've got a specific topic that you want to focus on, you can use any of these links at the top. Or if you just want to do a general paper 1 and paper 2, which to be honest at this stage is probably the best for you because you have an exam coming up. So if you wanted to do paper 1, for example, you click that link and it will take you to this section. Now once you're on this website, there's a few different things that you can do. It has flashcards, it has memorize, test and games. So when you scroll down, you can click here and it'll give you a definition and you have to try and think what that would actually match up with. When you click to flip, it tells you what the actual keyword is. Now as you go down, you will see that there is a list of 153 keywords to do with paper 1, and that's because paper 1 is very theory based. So as you go down the list, you'll be able to see all sorts of different words. If you want them to be read out, you can just click this.
Operating system, a suite of programs that manage the computer as a whole.
Or if you want to just kind of make notes on the ones that you don't unsure of, whatever it is that you want to do, these are the keywords that are going to really help you. It's being said that if you learn all of these keywords and you know what all the definitions are, then the minimum grade that you're going to get is a grade 5, because there's so many questions on the test that are identify, state or explain, that if you know these off by heart, then you will be able to get all of those marks. Now at the top, my favorite thing to learn these is games, and I've done this all the way up to A-level computer science as well, where if you do the Jewels of Wisdom one first, you really get to know what these keywords actually are, and it helps you to match them up. So once you've clicked on the game, it should load all of the keywords, and it works on levels. So this is the first set of words that you've got, but because there's 153, as you go through each level, you will get a new set of words. So here, if it says that there's no copyright being applied, that means that something is in the public domain. So you click that one and match it up. Now, if you spend a good 10 minutes on this regularly, then you will start to learn the definitions off by heart for lots of different keywords. So say, for example, on the test, it came up saying what is meant by extended ASCII. Then you would be able to find that definition and you will know that because you have used it or played this game so many times where you just know that definition. The same with a star network. If it was like describe what's meant by a star network, if you've played this, then you would know that this is a very good definition for it. Okay, once you are really good at the definitions, then you could move on to Stellar Speller, which is just another way of being able to kind of learn the definitions and the spellings. So at the top, it will tell you what the definition is, what is considered to be right and wrong. That would be ethical. So what you have to do is shoot the right letters in the right order. Like so, and then you'll get the next word. Okay, so that is how you can use keywords to really improve your kind of fundamental knowledge when it comes to this GCSE. And when you're at home sometimes, you know, if you're a bit unsure of what revision to do, or if you've only got a spare 5 or 10 minutes, then that is a really good one to do. Using past papers is a really useful method for revision. Again, if you go to Teams, you will find the past papers on there. You can decide on which paper you want to focus on, choose an exam paper. You can either answer the whole paper or just individual questions, and then you can check your answers in the mark schemes. You can correct yourself if necessary, and you can also come back to me and ask for further explanation if something doesn't make sense. I'll show you where to access the past papers and a little idea of what you could do with them. Now, past papers are a tried and tested way of being able to revise and to be able to test your knowledge and to also be able to improve your understanding of certain topics. Sometimes being able to practice certain types of questions can really bring you on in terms of your ability. So again, when we go to Teams and you click on General, you will see Files at the top. And in the class materials folder, I have added a folder called Past Papers. Now in here, I've put every single exam paper that is around for this course. So we've got paper 1 and paper 2, depending on which one you want to focus on. And once you're inside here, you'll see all sorts of different past papers and the mark scheme that goes along with it. So I recommend, as you can see on this particular PowerPoint slide, that where you've got this question, this is an insertion sort and it's an actual past paper question. Now, there's no better way really of being able to practice doing some sort of sorting algorithm than to use a past paper question, because this is very similar to what you will get in the real test. So past paper questions are really, really useful to do. When you are in this particular thing, if you go to any paper 2, there should be a question on sorting algorithms at some point, either search or sort algorithms. So you could just go, right, I want to focus on this topic and I'm going to go through this test paper until I find something to do with sorting algorithms. When you're actually in the document, you should be able to search through the file for a particular word. Sometimes you might have to download the PDF first to be able to search through, but then you can search through the document until you are looking until you find what you're looking for. So here the word sort is not being used, the word search has been used, so it's on this particular test it's gone with a search algorithm. So describe the steps that a linear search would take. Here's another exam question that you could practice on. Now with that one, as you go through those particular questions, you can also go onto the mark scheme and check. So this is question 6 on this paper, which was June 20. So if you go back into your past papers, you should be able to get the mark scheme for that paper. So June 20 mark scheme, MS for mark scheme, you click on it, go down to question 6, and you'll be able to see the mark scheme. So once you've had a go or attempted the question, you can go and check whether you think you've got it right or not. Okay, now once you've done that, you might sometimes be able to see where you've gone wrong. So say, for example, you're looking at this mark scheme and you've only got 2 out of 4, or you've only got 1 out of 4, you can see exactly where you might have gone wrong. Sometimes if you've got no idea how to do it, just looking at the mark scheme can kind of jog your memory or help you to understand what's happening. Okay, so that is how I recommend that you use your past papers. Another method that you can do is obviously to just work your way through them. So start with any, even maybe the oldest one, and just start answering the whole paper. So if you've got a little bit more time and you want to sit down and spend like an hour or so, you could actually just go through each individual question, or you can do it in chunks and do half a paper one day and half a paper the next day. And once you've gone through and answered the paper, you check the mark scheme and mark it for yourself. Sometimes just marking the paper yourself helps you to really learn and understand where you might be going wrong. Okay, so that is how you can use all of the past papers to help you learn. Smart Revise is a really useful website where you can do multiple choice questions and it will tell you which ones you are getting right and which ones you're not. It also learns, so it'll start showing you questions that are on the topics that you're struggling with a little bit more. If you do get anything wrong, there's links to videos that you can watch and see why you are getting it wrong. I'll show you now how to access Smart Revise and what you can do with it. Okay, when it comes to using Smart Revise, you have to obviously sign in with your username and password. Now they were set up with your school email and your school password unless you've asked me to change it to something different. Once you're signed in, you can go to your course, and essentially what you're looking for is to, let's go into your mode, is to click on quiz, and then start the quiz. And this just basically is every single multiple choice question in the whole Smart Revise library for your course, for both papers. So the reason why this is so good is you've now studied every single topic that is on the test, and all you need to be doing is revisiting and revising. So this is just going to come up with random topics that are best suited to you, and it learns. So every time you get something wrong, it will ask you questions again on a similar topic on repeat until you start to improve that particular area. Once it does come up, you need to take your time, not just click random things, but really read the question. So one advantage of a hard disk over solid state memory, and you read through the possible answers. If you get it wrong, it will come up with a video or a link to a video on YouTube that will help you to understand that particular topic. So a hard disk, now we know that solid state memory has no moving parts and it's very small, so it can't be this answer because the hard disk is not smaller. Does it use less power? No. Does it seek, read and write faster than a solid state? No. So that means that this is the only correct answer, or the only answer left. Now if you're a bit unsure, either that one or that one, obviously you can press I don't know. But if you press I don't know, then you're getting it wrong, aren't you? So it's about narrowing down by thinking about what you know. So we know that solid state memory is in tiny memory chips, so that can be fitted into really small devices. We know that SSD is the fastest, and we know that it uses less power. So it's got to be this one. When you click it, it will tell you if it's right or wrong. And then up here, it gives you a little bit of advice to kind of tell you why you've got that question right. So it gives you a bit more further explanation. And underneath, it tells you a video that you could watch. Now the next thing is, when you do the next question, I'll just click any one and get it wrong. It should come up with why you've got it wrong. So it gives you a little bit of advice. And again, if you're getting these questions wrong, you should watch the video on the internet, and then you could come back and attempt similar questions again. Now if you spend quite a bit of time on this, so say if you spend 5 or 10 minutes every day on this, now that you know all of the different topics, this would really help you to improve your recall. So when it comes in the exam, you're not like, oh, I've forgotten it, can't remember it. This will really help you to remember all of the information that we've covered. So for programming practice, obviously vitally important, I've got videos on the YouTube channel where you can go through the playlist and basically practice Python programming challenges. Then you can obviously try it yourself, listen to the videos whenever you're struggling. I'll now show you how to find them and also what you can do with them. Okay, so when it comes to paper 2, the programming element is really quite important. So there's at least 3 algorithm questions on the actual test. So they're all worth roughly 6 marks each. So that's 18 marks of the paper is where you've got to write algorithms. Then you will also have another question, or at least one other question, where you need to refine an algorithm, whether that's change the code around, or look at a flowchart and write it into code, or create a flowchart for a particular algorithm. So you've got lots and lots of programming questions. It's important that you spend a lot of time and make sure that you're confident on doing them. So what I've done is a lot of algorithm challenges all the way up to 33. So from 1 to 33, there's 33 different algorithm challenges, starting at the very simple and getting a little bit more challenging as you go ahead. Now, if you work your way through these, you will essentially, if you do it right, be very good at programming, and you'll be able to answer pretty much all of those type of questions on the test. Now, what you've basically got to do is when you choose an algorithm, I'm just going to mute it so that I can continue to talk, you will see what the actual challenge is first. Now what you should do is pause the video and think about whether you can do this yourself. So you read the algorithm carefully, do all of the techniques that we've talked about, and think about what are my inputs going to be, what data type do they need to be, what calculations or processing do we need to do, and what needs to be output at the end. And you read that and think, can I do this myself first? And then what you could do is have a go at actually doing it. So you could use trinket.io/Python and then go through, delete the code and start a nice new fresh Python thing, and then think about, can I actually code this algorithm, and have a go at doing it first. Now if you do it and you can't get it to work, then you could go back to the video and try and watch it and see where you've gone wrong. Or if you've got no idea, you can watch the video, listen to the explanations, and then go back and code it yourself. And the more practice you do with this, the better at programming you will get. Simple as that. The more that you do, the easier it will start to become. And obviously, if you still have any problems or there's certain things that you don't understand, then that's where you can come back to me as a teacher and say, could you help explain this to me? And I've got no problem doing that. But this resource is available to you so that you can sit in your own time and listen when you've got no distractions and work your way through these programming challenges. Finally, we've got Seneca. So if you go to seneca.com, you can log in using your school email and password, or you can use sign in with Microsoft. You choose the topic that you want to focus on, read through the material, watch any videos, and then attempt the questions. There's also a couple of new things that I'll show you now on the next little section. Okay, now when it comes to using Seneca, you've used this lots and lots of times in school, so you are aware of how to use it. You just need to log in with your school email and password, and then from here you can choose the topic that you want to study. Now at this point you should have a much more clear idea of which things that you are struggling with and which topics that you could focus on. If you are a little bit unsure sometimes of which topics to focus on, as we've said before, you can go to your question level analysis and you can look up your particular name and get all of the topics that you need to study. Now, when you are actually on Seneca, you can choose the topic that you want, and it's important that you actually read through the information. It's no good just pressing continue and going to the answers. If you read through this, it's the same as like having a revision guide and reading through the book, but this breaks it down into nice sections that make it easier to follow. So this one in particular, we're looking at div, modern div. We have covered it a couple of times, but if you're a bit unsure, you could read back over this. Then you read the next bit. It reads it out nice and slow for you so that you can take your time. Make sure you read carefully through all the information. And then once you're done, you continue, and it gives you little questions that help to check whether you are aware of what it actually does or not. When you do, you click on it and move on to the next question. Now, if you've just read the information and you know what mod actually does, you know that it gives you the answer and what the remainder is. So these questions are fairly easy to do once you've actually read through the information. If you don't read through it, then you're going to struggle a little bit. But Seneca really takes your learning to a deeper level. So it'll have everything that we've covered in lessons, but it'll go deeper as well. Another thing that's quite new that has popped up on Seneca is this exam prep. Really, really useful. If you click on it, you can choose different things. So you can do practice questions or exam mode. But if you do practice questions, you can choose any topics and it'll give you exam questions. So let's say you wanted to focus on Boolean logic, for example. Obviously, you only get 3 questions each day. So because I've already done this, I can't show you. But once you do it, it will give you 3 exam questions, and it uses artificial intelligence to mark them for you. So once you do that, you will be able to put your answers in and it'll use artificial intelligence to see whether you would get that question correct or not. If you do actually pay for Seneca and get the proper version, then you can do unlimited questions. Another thing that is also on the paid version is Amelia, and that is where you can actually ask questions. So if you don't understand a particular topic, you can type it in and it will give you a little bit more information or try to help explain the answer to you.